Hey everybody, it's JJ and we're back again for another ASUS PCDIY hardware stream. We've got a lot of things to talk about, so if you guys of course have been monitoring the week, I've been checking out of course the posts that we've had in the ASUS PCDIY group, which of course if you're not part of, you can go ahead and check out, linked in the description below. We've had a lot of different updates coming out. So in this stream we're going to be talking about pretty much almost all the brand new announcements that we had at Gamescom. That's going to include actually brand new products that we're going to have in terms of like the ROG Rapture GT6, two new gaming mice that we're going to have, including the brand new GLADIUS III AIMPOINT as well as the KERIS AIMPOINT. They're also going to be coming in black and in moonlight white. We're going to have updates in terms of course, the really anticipated ROG Swift series monitors, both the 42-inch and the 48-inch. We've got actually a slew of other gaming monitors that are going to be coming in, including 4K, high refresh rate, HDMI 2.1. We've also got some new 1440p monitors coming down the pipe that we're going to be jumping into. I've got a number of different portable displays to talk about, including another OLED-based portable display, and I think on top of that, we've also got the brand new ROG Ryu3 first look preview, which is going to kind of reintroduce our circular, course, customizable AIO cooling solution. So you guys will be able to check that out. And we've even got, of course, an update for our very performant mini PC based off of the Ryzen 5000H series CPUs with the PN52. So, and then we added to that AM5 motherboards, right? So we've got tons of different things to be able to go ahead and jump into. Let's see what we have jumping us here on the stream. Let me go ahead and just pull back a little bit our audio right there, and we will get things moving along. All right, so let's see who we have jumping in here. We've got David joining us. Happy to have you here on the stream. Thanks so much for joining us here. Eric, as always, happy to have you here on the stream. Thank you so much. Vitor saying hello. Happy to have you here. Liking the picture of the little cat right there. Very cool. Ethan, man, happy to have you here on the stream. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And let's see right there. H2O Computers, JJ teasing us with the brand new Tough Gaming case. That's right, because I've got a little bit of a teaser announcement. It wasn't in the thumbnail, but I've got an update for you on the brand new GT502, which is of course going to be our split chamber design chassis, and that'll be coming out in the not too distant future. Oh, hey, there we go. We've got Sumin giving us a shout out, and we've also got Paskowitz also joining us there, along with Rick Harrison. So hey, Johnny Boy, back again. Happy to have you here. And let's close that out with Tim. Looks like we've definitely got quite a number of people joining us for the stream. Fantastic. So I literally do not almost even know where to start. We've got so many different pieces of hardware to be able to go ahead and jump into for this stream. And we're going to be tight in terms of trying to get it all packed in here. So let's go. I think first things first. We're going to just do a very quick recap, I think, on the new AM5 series based motherboards. So if you guys are interested, of course, my recommendation is going to be to check out the streams that right now we have on our YouTube channel, as well as the posts that we have in the ASUS PCDIY group, as well as also you can check out our EdgeUp website. That's edgeup.asus.com, where we have a little bit of a preview guide that is present up and on the site, so you can go ahead and check that out. But this being just a quick recap of everything that we do have going on, I just want to go ahead and touch on these really quick. Again, if you guys want to find out more information, make sure to check out the dedicated streams that we already right now have on the YouTube channel, which dives into kind of each one of these boards a little bit more in depth with as much of the information that we can give you right now, because we can't get into performance specifications and some other elements because the boards and the chipset and the CPU is still under embargo. But I can go ahead and show you really cool looking pictures, so let's go ahead and do that. So give me one sec. I'm going to go ahead and just bring up a quick set of the images just to reinforce the entirety of the lineup. So if anybody is wondering about, we'll do that. So I'm going to go ahead and first load up kind of the ROG series. We're going to have the ROG Extreme. We're going to bring up the Hero. I'm going to bring up the non-RGB versions just because I think that those look really great, and the standard image that we tend to share a lot is going to usually be the RGB based version. So I think especially for the Crosshair Hero on the Extreme, I'd love to show you what it looks like when it doesn't have any RGB lighting. So let's get these up here. All right, perfect. So I think that's going to be... that will take care of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and first show you those. All right, so here you guys can see that is going to be kind of the ROG kind of gaming lineup. Make sure to keep it tuned. There'll be more information coming for kind of the entirety of our AM5 product launch, which we'll have a dedicated live stream on once the actual launch occurs. But right here, you have our flagship model, that's going to be the Crosshair X670E Extreme. Now keep in mind, all the motherboards I'm going to be showing you are going to be based off of the X670E based chipset. So that's the flagship chipset from AMD, really focused for users that want the most rich IO. Of course, there's overclocking support, and you want that PCI Gen 5 support for not only M.2 based SSDs, those next gen SSDs, as well as PCI Express Gen 5 for graphics. So you have both of those options available to you. So here you've got, of course, the Extreme board. It's got the enemy matrix. It has the OLED live dash. It has a new ESS 9218 DAC on board. It can support up to 5 M.2 SSDs. It has a new Gen 5 Gen Z.2 add-in card. It's got USB 4 on it. It has 60-watt charging. It has the Q release ejection. It's just an absolutely monster board in terms of its features, functions, and specs. We've got the Crosshair Hero, which is going to be very similar. You just kind of bring it down a little bit where you don't have things like the Anime Matrix or the OLED Live Dash display. You're still going to have USB 4, same premium audio design, still water cooling zone headers, the 60-watt charging, the Q release, differential dye sense monitoring, support for advanced overclocking features like dynamic OC switcher, and brand new features that we're going to be actually talking about specifically in the upcoming launch. Of course, an extremely high performant design. Really across the board, all of the boards are going to be featuring high quality teamed power stage based configurations, but Crosshair series always take it to the next level and offer not only premium team power stages, but of course the entirety of the topology and the design, even things with like an 8-layer low loss PCB. You got 110 rated amps for the inductors, microfine alloy chokes, and even 10K rated capacitors. And then ROG Strix, you're going to see, is also still a great looking board, super well spec'd, going to be able to support up to 4 M.2 based SSDs. You get that PCI Gen 5 support. That board will also be stacked 13 ports on the rear for that motherboard. Difference is going to be here. You got 40 gigabits, right, with USB 4, and here it'll be either 10 gigabits or 20 gigabits. But you still get the Q release, you still get isolated audio design, but instead of an ESS Saber DAC, you get the ALC 4080 with the Savitech amp design. But that is going to be the 3 boards right there, kind of an ROG. Next up, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Prime, the ProArt, and the Tough Gaming series. So 3 other boards that we have right there. And again, this is just a quick little bit of an overview on these boards. We have full live streams that I did pretty much for these, except for the ProArt and the Prime, in terms of kind of like all the kind of specifications that I could go over. So let me go ahead and bring up the next set of boards, and I will quickly make sure to jump there into the chat to see if anybody does have any questions. I'll try to answer them right now before we get into the other stuff. But like I said, we've got so many different things going on. I don't want to spend too much time here because we do have a lot of things to cover in this stream. All right, so let me go ahead and get up here. We've got Prime. We'll go with ProArt, and we'll get Tough Gaming. Okay. And all of these are really great looking boards too. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look right here. Here you can see, of course, a white series board. So if you're looking for that really kind of bold and bright design aesthetic, the Prime series has always been very much a hallmark in that regard. I think it's a fantastic looking base motherboard. Looks really great in terms of the overall. And a big update too for this generation is normally the Prime doesn't come with Wi-Fi, but it does come with Wi-Fi for this generation. Pretty much everything you see, all of them have Wi-Fi with a minimum of also 2.5 gigabit LAN. And some of the boards are, of course, also feature dual LAN or even 10G LAN like you have like on the Extreme, right? But here you can see great looking design, really performant based power delivery still present on this board. You're going to get great features like our AI cooling technology, which is going to be really new level of functionality to be able to even streamline the cooling experience for all your connected fans to make it just that much simpler and that much easier to be able to get a cool and quiet experience. And we'll definitely have a full demo of that in the launch live stream. We've got the ProArt board, which I love the design aesthetic. I love these nice slats that they kind of have on there and the nice refined edges. And I really like this kind of just subtle little bit of diffusion that we have in the IO shroud with that gold accent. Looks really nice. And then the brand new ID design, if you're familiar with the older X570 Tough Gaming series, they had the old kind of design language that we had all the way back in our original Tough series. And of course, the Tough series is no longer present. We went ahead and we discontinued and stopped the actual TUF series, and then we relaunched TUF Gaming, and that kind of became our good, better, best strategy for kind of our gaming lineup in terms of our product portfolio. But now all of our new kind of TUF Gaming products feature this new vector design language that we have that I think looks really great and helps us solidify the TUF Gaming ID design. So very, very cool looking boards. So yeah, you've got TUF Gaming, ProArt, and Prime. So overall, love to see what your guys' thoughts are just in terms of the design aesthetic. And if you're wondering about features, functions, specifications, again, check out the dedicated live streams. We've got all those details in there that I was able to go ahead and break down in there. So before I go ahead and get into the last two boards, because we've got, of course, the Gene and the ITX that I can show you, let me just see if we've had any questions that kind of popped up in there. PGPCs is giving us a little bit of shout out. It says the TUF Gaming, it should be the TUF Gaming redesign looks great. Thanks so much, PGPCs. What's the question right there? How do you par ProArt with Prime, TUF, and Strix? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by JY. If you could go ahead and clarify for me what you mean. Segmentationally, the Prime board, we have actually different variants sometimes in the Prime series, but that specific Prime would technically be positioned a little bit above the TUF Gaming series, but below still the ROG Strix series. And ProArt generally would be considered a little bit higher than about the Prime series, and still kind of roughly about similar, but spec'd a little bit differently because it's designed a little bit differently than the ROG Strix. And then, of course, ROG would generally be the highest end, if that's the kind of question you're asking right there. We've got some great feedback from Brian. Says, hey, awesome, looking good right there. Joel is saying, man, the ProArt is the only reason I might go with Zen 4, or else I might have to go with 13 Gen. Well, you know what? ASUS is committed to be, of course, a great partner with both Intel and AMD, so we have you covered either which way you decide to go. Kevin Daly giving us a shout out right there. He says, the designs are outstanding. Thank you so much. I think our team have hit it out of the ballpark when it comes to the overall proverbial designs. I think it looks great. Lex is asking about release date. I can't give you any confirmation on that. Just going to make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned for our social media channel, so no worries right there. Okay? All right, so last but not least, let me go ahead and quickly just show you the Gene here and the ITX board, and we're going to move along from AM5 because, like I said, we've got a lot of stuff. But if you have some questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in there, and I will do my best to get to it when I can. So these two last updates right here are going to be exciting boards because, of course, you know, a lot of times the focus is always going to be on the ATX-based form factors, but I think very exciting here for this platform will be that we have two very performant and feature-rich, true enthusiast class, smaller form factor based offerings. So really exciting. Of course, this is going to be the first time ever we've offered a Gene on the actual AMD based platform. So we're going to have an ROG Crosshair Gene motherboard. So this is really going to be built for those that want an extraordinarily performant experience. Of course, you have the 2 DIMM memory design, which means this board is purpose built for outstanding DDR5 overclocking capability. It's going to have some awesome features that is very similar to kind of the enthusiast level features that we offer on the Extreme board for those tweakers, tuners, and overclockers. And you get great specification support. So you still even can support things like 3 M.2 SSDs on here, including that Gen Z add-in card for PCI Gen 5. You got 40 gigabits. You still have the Wi-Fi 6E. You've got the 2.5 LAN. So small, compact, but doesn't compromise on performance. And that's really the hallmark of the Gene. And then, of course, here we've got the Dash I, which the Dash I, like always, is bringing about the innovation. Really impressive specifications, really cool stylized design. And we took it to the next level doing some really crazy stuff with this generation where we continued things with like the FPS add-in card where you have an extra ARGB header. You've got more internal USB 2 headers on there. You're also going to have a full breakout box, which is going to call the ROG Hive, which is going to have its own dedicated ESS 9260 DAC. It has a USB pass-through. It has a one-touch PBO button. It has a volume knob on it. It has a QLED for debugging. So there's a lot of functionality that we built into that. And we're even looking to try to see maybe if we can even enhance it further through software and firmware. But make sure to keep it tuned for the launch live stream. We will dive into all of this and so much more in full detail. So rest assured we will get you covered. But check out the live streams if you're interested. They're right now on the YouTube channel. You can check them out. And of course, you can check out our featured announcement posts in the PC DIY group. All right. So that wraps up AM5 right there. So let me go ahead and just see if we have any quick questions that I can answer quickly there before we get over into the next thing. So if you got AM5 on the mind, go ahead and drop the question in. Let me see if I can go ahead and get to it really quick. Somebody's asking, do they still have a flash? I'm not sure what you mean by flash. If you're talking about like USB BIOS flashback, yeah, USB BIOS flashback is kind of a core feature. Of course, we're the ones that invented it. Yes, these motherboards do still offer USB BIOS flashback. So if you want to be able to update the UEFI BIOS, no CPU, no DRAM, no graphics card, just put in the flash drive into the port, hold down the button, and you're good to go. So you still have that functionality right there. Let me see right there. Does the Dash I have an internal audio header for the case? No, it does not. All the audio is moved entirely outside to the ROG Hive. Okay. Johnny Boy, don't worry. I'm going to be getting to the OLED monitors in a little bit. We'll include pricing. We'll include the projected kind of release time frame and all those details in a little bit. Okay. Okay. Let me see. We got one more question right there. JJ, is the AM5 backplate removable on the motherboard? I would depend on which motherboard you're talking about. Generally, we don't design backplates to be removed. Most of the time, backplates are functional, so that means that they're designed to not only add rigidity and reduce torsion, but they're also sometimes making direct contact with the back of the PCB, or maybe sometimes the VRM topology. This isn't really that critical, though, because the reality is that the VRM and the power stages that are present get very, very good thermal dissipation performance from the direct contact heatsink assemblies. So I guess if you really wanted to, you could remove them. But not all boards have backplates, so you would depend on which motherboard you're talking about. Okay. Rambi, don't worry, we haven't even gotten to the cooler. We're just literally getting to the very beginning. We just started talking about the AM5 boards, so we've got a lot more to come in. So don't worry, we're going to be getting into the Ryu 3, so don't worry about that. All right, guys. That goes ahead, and I think unless there's one last question right there. We will go from there. Somebody's asking, ASUS antennas magnetic base. Yes, Ethan. This is actually the new design. So this is the same design that we introduced for the antennas that we had on Z690, which was revised from the prior generation. So they do actually have like a magnetic base. Actually, it's like this one right here. So it's like this pretty much antenna. So do I have a power supply over here? I thought I might have a power supply. Wait, will this? Nope, this one is not. This is aluminum. So I don't have a freehand power supply, but this, yes, it's this antenna, and this antenna is it has a little magnetic foot on it. It's actually quite a bit more stable than the prior generation. So yes, you do have a magnetic base. All right, so you're good to go in that regard. All right, so let's keep moving things along. We've got a lot of things to cover here, so that's going to be AM5. I have a quick note right here in terms of UEFI BIOS announcements. So we recently released the 1700 series UEFI updates for Intel-based motherboards. So those are going to be for kind of Z690 series, like this board right here, like the Maximus Z690 Extreme, as well as B660 series. So a large number of these updates went out. And the main purpose for these updates is a more formalized microcode support for the next generation Intel-based series CPUs. Now, some users may actually see an actual update coming in through Windows for an actual UEFI BIOS update. This is actually something that was coordinated by our headquarters team with Microsoft. Now, it's an optional update method. It is not a required method for you to proceed to do the update. If you still want to go through like the traditional option of going through the service and support site, or you want to use the My ASUS app to check for the file and then download it and then go through the easy flash function built into the UEFI, you can go that route. As always, though, I do recommend that if you're updating your UEFI BIOS, when there's any changes to kind of the microcode, there can be changes to things like auto rules and other performance related parameters. So it's important to always keep in mind that if your system's running fully stable without any concerns, I don't recommend changing it. Especially I think because from the 1400 to about the 1600 series, we've done a lot of optimizations, especially within DRAM tuning, where they're quite stable, they're very solid. And the 1700 series really is, again, focused towards maximizing interoperability and performance for those next gen series CPUs. But if you do see that update, that's what that update is for. If you want to go through it that method, then you can go through that way. But as always, we have a full actually write-up post that exists in our PCDIY group that talks about actually what you want to keep in mind if you do update your UEFI BIOS, and it talks a lot. I've spent a lot of time creating that document, so please, if you're kind of asking questions about whether or not you should update UEFI, what to keep in mind, how that affects profiles, and even some recommendations on things you can do if you want to be able to kind of understand how to go from one build to another build, read the post and then check out the corresponding video that's also linked for that. Okay. All right. So that covers us there. Danny's asking if you're asking about this system right here. This one is running. It's either a 12900K or it might be a KS. I don't remember. I don't remember which one is actually in there, but it is a 12900. Okay. Daniel Williams, I love ASUS and look forward to these new boards. Lots of good innovations. Never had an issue with the BIOS. Might have got lucky, but they're usually very solid boards. And thank you. Really appreciate your support. I'm, of course, super biased, but I really do feel that we are overall really the leader when it comes to kind of features, functions, design innovations, really kind of being first to market and offering a great experience. So thank you so much for your support. And if you want to jump into the course next generation, either which way, whether it's Intel or AMD, we got you covered. And if you want to keep your current system, no worries, man. Best of luck with your build, and I'd love to see you share it within the group. Okay. All right. Daniel Cuba's asking, will there be any white versions of these boards released? Remember, I already showed the Prime. If you're wondering about anything else, all I can tell you is make sure to keep it tuned for the launch date. All right. So that takes care of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep moving things along here. What else are we going to get to jump into? Quick giveaway. All right, giveaway announcement. If you guys are not aware, Intel Gamer Days is happening right now, and we went ahead and, of course, been working with Intel on this, and we had a little bit of a collaboration where we sponsored actually some hardware to one of our favorite PBA partners. If you don't know what PBA is powered by ASUS. We have a wide array of PBA partners, and one of our favorite PBA partners is going to be Digital Storm. Right here, you can see this awesome system that they went ahead and put together, and guess what? You have the opportunity to win this full water-cooled system that absolutely looks fantastic, and they went ahead and even took it to the next level. They took their chassis, they customized it, they actually stripped the inside paint, they painted it up, they added in all that beautiful hardware, including one of the really great looking boards out there with our Maximus C690 formula board, our ROG Strix white based graphics card. You add in that really nice clean cable management and layout, and the course unique orientation that you have within that, and you even throw in a tough gaming high refresh rate gaming monitor, and you've got a full system that you guys have the opportunity to win. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat. Let me go right ahead and get that loaded up. So give me a second here to bring that up here. Yep, and I have it right here. So I'm going to drop it for you guys. So yeah, let's see what you can win right here. It is going to be a Core i9 12900K. It's got an ASUS ROG Strix 3080 graphics card. That should be the OC edition as well. So the white OC edition V2, 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory from XPG. Then you've got the Maximus Z690 Formula motherboard, an ROG Strix 850 watt power supply, the white edition, which you can't even see, but hey, it's in there. 1 terabyte M.2 Digital Storm Performance Series SSD, Windows 11, and then custom water cooling. Do keep in mind this is limited to just North America, and then it also will come included with an ASUS Tough Gaming monitor that's in there as well. So it's a pretty sweet opportunity to win a great gaming system. So if you guys want to get in on it, get in on it. So we can see right there, you've got 10 days left. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat, and you guys are going to be good to go. All right, so let me go ahead and drop that one in there. All right, let's go ahead and keep moving things along. Alex is asking, any chance to see smaller form factor OLED monitors? You know, there's always a possibility. There's always a lot of factors when you talk about panel design and development, because there's a lot of aspects that have to be coordinated with panel partners in terms of the production. But, you know, we're definitely actively working on it right now. You know, ASUS literally has everything from 13-inch portable OLED to we have 32-inch monitor OLED to, of course, we have the upcoming ROG Swift 42 and 48-inch, right? You know, we're the world's really #1 gaming manufacturer when it comes to high-performance gaming displays. So rest assured, we're definitely actively looking at it as a technology, as well as many other technologies, right? We've been a leader at, you know, pushing out things, whether it's, you know, mini LED, we're looking at micro LED. Of course, there's next generation IPS black-based panel technology. There's further improvements within VA. There's, of course, specialized panel designs that we're also working on for next generation, even TN. And then, of course, there's so many other variants. But rest assured, as long as you're watching our streams, as long as you're checking out our social channels, you're going to find out about it as soon as we can talk about about it. And you'll be seeing some of the very cool displays that we have coming up in the not too distant future. OLED's a great technology, but there are still really a lot of elements in terms of other panels and other types of technologies that also do have benefits. So as always, for us, it's about trying to make sure that we're looking at what is the feature set, the functionality, and the target use case scenario, and then trying to have a rich set of options available for that segmentation, and also respectively budgets. Not everybody has just one budget. There's some people that are looking for something that might be at a lower price point, a mid-right price point, and then of course there's enthusiasts that might be looking for the absolute best, even if it is the most expensive on the market, right? So lots of different options. Yeah, I wonder if that's another monitor that's going to be coming, the ROG Swift 500 Hertz. It'll be here, in the not too distant future. So definitely going to be coming up. All right. So let's go ahead and keep moving things along. That covers us for a giveaway right there. And also, if you guys want to check out a very cool little video of this build on that giveaway side, you can also go ahead and check out Digital Storm's, YouTube channel, and they have actually a little video that goes through kind of the build experience. So it's cool, so you can actually see the system that you could have the chance to win. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in there. We're going to also go ahead and hit that like button for them because they're a great partner. All right. Nori, how come I've never had Bauer? Roman, I've talked to Roman actually in the past sometimes. I think one of the last times it was maybe like at a CES or something like that. Just happens to be, he was of course in Germany. We're in North America, so there's not really generally a reason like that. But, who knows? Maybe in the future, we are looking to have some additional kind of, I'd say, like Q&A opportunities with different individuals that can actually include partners as well as media, modders, and builders. So, I would always say, make sure to keep it tuned, and you might be surprised at who you see joining us here on the stream, right? So let's go ahead and keep moving this along. All right, next up, we've got that out of the way. Giveaway is done there. All right, let's go ahead and let me see here, guys. All right. We're going to go ahead and quickly recap on the new items for Gamescom, and then after that, we're going to get into the ROG Swift OLED. So if you're joining us for the ROG Swift OLED, don't worry, I will get into that, okay? But I do want to go ahead and get these out of the way because they're more kind of some of the brand new items that are just right now being announced, and so I just want to go ahead and throw these out there. So let's go ahead and first take a look. We've got the RYUO III AIO cooler. This is a very, very exciting, I think, cooler on our part, right? So if you guys don't know, we were actually the first manufacturer to even release an AIO to the market that actually had a screen. So that was with the very original ROG Ryu. And then, of course, we've continued to follow that up, and you've, of course, seen the industry even embrace that kind of concept of having a screen on an AIO. And I remember when we first did it, some people was like, why even have a screen? And now tons of people really love having a screen on their AIO, right? So again, it kind of thinks showing that, we were kind of ahead of the curve there, right? And the big thing that you're going to find with the RYUO III is that this is actually going to be featuring a brand new pump design that's also going to be present from ASUS. So you're going to have quite a number of improvements. The actual tubing diameter has actually been increased from 5 to 7 millimeters. There's an increase in the actual liquid capacity that it's also supported. There's a new 3-phase motor that's also been designed in there. You have our ROG, static pressure optimized fans that are on there, and then you have the new pump pad, which supports our Anime Matrix display technology. So let's go ahead and bring this guy up here. So give me 1 second. I might have even forgot to bring the actual images here. So let me see if I even have it. So I loaded them up here, and I might have actually forgot to bring them in. But it's okay. I can go into our group, and I will pull them out from right there. So give me 1 second. Oh, no, I have them right here. Perfect. All right, great. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look right here. So this is it right here. This is the RYUO III. This is a first look preview. Again, I don't have all the full information to give you. I just wanted to let you guys know about it. It's going to be coming. I'm really excited to be able to show it off. You're going to, of course, see, compared to the Ryujin 2, the Ryujin 2 has the square pump housing, and here we have the circular pump housing. And, of course, as opposed to the standard on the Ryujin 2 right now still is the world's largest AIO screen. It's 3.5 inches. Here we have a circular head, so it's just going to have a different aesthetic, and it's really interesting. I'd love to see your guys' commentary in the group. Are you team circle? Or are you team square in terms of which one you prefer? In our last polling, it was almost about a 50-50 split. We had people that really liked the circle, and there was other people that liked the square. Do keep in mind the square does support a rotation, so you can actually do vertical, or you can go with a traditional square, kind of almost more like a rectangle, right? So you have actually a little bit kind of more flexibility, I think, within the Ryujin. And the Ryujin is a full LCD display. So as you can see, even right here next to me, it keeps changing up. You can put GIFs, you can put animations, you can put still images. And here we're going to be using our Anime Matrix, which gives it a very kind of cool and different vibe. It's that kind of pixel graphics type of look, which I think looks really cool. You'll see right here, it's going to be a 360mm design. And then we will also have a 240mm base design. So pretty much the two most common options in terms on the market available to you. Of course, these will be supporting both Intel and AMD based platforms. I love also the little knurling and finish that we have here on the pump housing. I think it looks really cool. It has a little bit more of kind of a subtle kind of just textural finish to it that I think looks really, really interesting. You'll also see right here that new also compared to in the past for the Anime Matrix type display is that in the past, the Anime Matrix displays have been singular color, right? It's pretty much monochrome. It's white, right? But here we've got color. So I think that's going to be really cool. It allows you to have a little bit more flair, a little bit more kind of a stylized element. And of course, performance is really going to be outstanding. The base plate also on this is entirely been redesigned. So it's a large square base plate as opposed to a circular base plate. So you even get more coverage for the IHS, or essentially the integrated heat spreader that exists for your CPU. So in our already internal testing, this is showing that we're getting overall even better thermal performance in terms of that. So overall, very, very exciting cooler. I don't have any other details to give you in terms of pricing or anything like that, but you know, timeline, just make sure to keep it tuned here to the PC DIY course streams or to the PC DIY group, and you'll definitely be finding out about it as soon as we have it available in terms of pushing it out to market. So that is the brand new Ryu the Ryu 3 in either a 240mm or a 360mm base design. So very, very cool. So let's go ahead and see what do you guys think. Let me see right there in the chat. What do we got in terms of feedback, right? Will this come in 600mm? No, it's not going to be coming in terms of a 600mm. Okay. Vitor is asking white. I don't think that we have any plans probably for white. Right now we do already offer a white cooler. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring it up. I think we have the Strix LC. Yeah. So if you want white, we already got you covered here. This is we have the ROG Strix LC series in white. So this is a fantastic cooler based off the current generation ASUS latest gen paste pump design, and it's a great looking design, and of course it's fully ARGB, right? So I really love this cooler. So if you want to go white, we got you covered here, and this one comes in 240 or 360. But as of right now, just like the Ryujin, the Ryu will only be in black. Okay. Yeah, Christopher Jackson, I'm definitely aware. I just showed off, right, that we have white, and I would actually challenge anybody. We have the biggest white ecosystem. There's not a manufacturer that literally has more. We literally are the only manufacturers producing white motherboards, white graphics cards, white chassis, white power supplies, white peripherals, right, that include mice, keyboards, headsets. We have fans, right? You know, literally there's not one almost product component line that we haven't made that's white, and users may not just understand this. It's exceedingly difficult. White is more expensive to produce. It has a lower yield. It has a harder consistency in terms of matching. So there's literally no benefit for producing white from a technical standpoint. It's actually just more difficult, more costly, more complicated, but we do it because we do realize that users want it as a secondary option. It's significantly less popular though than of course black. Black is still exponentially a much bigger market share, so that's the reason why you still see black as the majority, because it's what most components and builds are based around. That being said, we were very early, I think, in supporting it, and we've supported it exceedingly well, and we've only added to that. And even, you know, showing new products like with the upcoming GLADIUS III mouse that we're going to show, the KERIS wireless that's going to be in white, even the brand new ROG Cetra True Wireless earbuds that we have also going to be in white. I think we're trying to offer as much as we can while also being realistic to that. There's also some users that do not like it. Some users really have a very interesting perspective on how they feel texturally about seeing something in white and the perception of it. Some people really, really love the bold and brightness of it, and other people, they don't. So, you know, it's a really big balancing act, but, you know, we've been very proud of the fact that we've spent a lot of effort to grow our white ecosystem, right? Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and keep moving that along. So we've got the Ryu. III that we talked about there. So let's go ahead and what do you guys think? Do we want to look at the ROG Rapture GT6 or do we want to look at the new gaming mice? You got 5 seconds. Let me know. Let me know in the chat, and we're going to see which one we're going to jump into. Gaming mice or the GT6? All right, let's see what we got. Can you also see temp info? This question right here, I'm not sure what you're asking about, but in terms of, like, let's say the Ryujin, you have a full stat panel. So if I have time enough in the stream, I can show you actually in Armory Crate. We even have a 4-point different option, or even AIDA64 integration. You can have 4 different stats that are displayed there. So you can put temperature, you can put frequencies, you can put voltages, you can have even the actual AIO temp coolant information displayed there. So yeah, you have tons of flexibility in terms of what you can have displayed there. All right, so let's see. We've got mice, rats. Release the rodent, and we had one GT6. All right, so it sounds like, is the GIF available on your left for download? Mr. Samak 1969 is asking me. I don't know which one it is you're thinking about, but you know what? If you want, let me know. Tag me in the PC DIY group, and I will share any of the ones that I have right here. Some of them I created, but I can go ahead and share any of the ones you want. So if you see one that you like on here, I'll hook you up. Just let me know in the group, and I'll tag them, and I'll upload them, and anybody else can download them, okay? All right. So let's go ahead and go to some, I guess, gaming mice. All right, so we're going to go ahead and check these gaming mice out right here. Give me a second. All right, so give me 1 second right here. And we will load that up. I'm pretty sure I got the images right here. So yeah. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. This is going to be the brand new ROG GLADIUS III AIMPOINT. All right, so if some of you have been paying attention, you may be aware that the AIMPOINT is a new sensor that we designed and developed that was specifically released first on the ROG Chakram X, which is our new ultra high performance sensor. It's going to be, as you see, 36,000 DPI, and very important right there is going to be a really cool feature in terms of something that we've been doing already for a couple of generations, which is going to be binning the sensor. The standard industry deviation for the actual sensor is usually about 3%. So we bin these for even a higher level of tolerance to only have a 1% deviation. So it really allows for outstanding performance within the sensor. You're going to see here that we've gone ahead and even made further improvements in terms of the actual weight. It's actually going to come with that secondary grip that's also going to be really, really cool and present in there. And then I love the fact right there that you can see that it's going to be coming in 2 different colors. It's going to be coming in black, and it will also be coming in that moonlight white. Now we're going to take a look at some closer images, but I'm going to go ahead and also show you right here the ROG KERIS. So let's go ahead and quickly take a look at that one right there. So the KERIS is going to be generally a little bit smaller body than you're going to have with the GLADIUS III. The GLADIUS III, I think, is really well suited towards medium and kind of larger hands. And then I would say the KERIS is going to be a little bit more balanced for people with a little bit smaller hand or medium sized hands. Large hands can use it if maybe you've got a little bit more kind of like a claw type style in terms of that. But this one will offer even a little bit lighter in terms of the overall weight design. Both of these are going to be tri-mode, so that means that you're going to have native USB-C connectivity, 2.4 gigahertz, and Bluetooth connectivity. They both have onboard memory profiles to them, and the KERIS also will have that white and black design. So let's go ahead and take a look right here at these guys just a little bit closer, and I think they absolutely look fantastic. And of course, they look very similar to our current mice. So let's go ahead and bring up our images right here. So here you can see, here is the GLADIUS III. Taking a really nice look at it, you can see that interesting, a certain competitor has moved over to the same type of approach that we've pretty much almost had from the very beginning, which is what we call split isolated design, which we feel has always offered better tactility and actually minimize any type of what's called false depressions, because when you sometimes unify the left and the right button on the same part of the body shell, sometimes that can lead to a little bit of inconsistency with the balancing pressure between the left and the right hand side. So this is fully independent. So that's something that of course we've maintained. You have that just a minimal RGB lighting zone right there, 2 buttons right there on, of course, the left hand side, that nice smooth encoder that's on there. And of course, when we take a look right here, compared to like the GLADIUS II, this is just like the GLADIUS III, where it has laser etching onto the side of the body for a nice little level of grip that will be present there, that won't wear away because it's not, of course, like a rubber material that can sometimes be reduced over time. And here you can see the grip tape that will come included. So if you're somebody that's maybe got really, really sweaty hands, or you just want that little bit of additional tactility, that will come included there, and you can go ahead and add it in and have that extra benefit. Now, these mice will still maintain the full ability to be able to customize the switches. So that means that you can go ahead and easily disassemble the mouse. Literally, I've shown it in the stream. If you're interested, you can check out a full stream that we have where I've gone into showing how we can customize any of our ROG mice by just changing out the switches. So if you want to go to softer switch, a quieter switch, a crisper switch, a heavier switch, a lighter switch, it doesn't matter. There's tons of options. And these will both support the new push fit socket 2 design, which was exclusive to the GLADIUS III and the recent updated X-based mice, which means you can support standard mechanical switches, or you can support our optical switches. But they do come with our ROG micro switches, which are very, very premium, 70 million. They have a really nice, crisp, consistent feel to them. And they have also a gold-plated junction in them as well, which helps to mitigate any type of oxidation over time. And there you can see in that moonlight white, it looks fantastic, I think, in the moonlight white design aesthetic. And again, these will feature also a brand new type of actually wireless technology that we've gone ahead and developed, which has even been further improved in terms of latency, overall performance than our current 2.4 gigahertz wireless, which was already gaming grade wireless. So that's great. So again, you're really going to have an amazing experience regardless of whether you want to use the USB-C cable, which is going to continues to be our ultra lightweight ROG paracord, which is really, I think, the best in the industry. It's the lightest, it's the smoothest, it's a really great cable. Or you can use the 2.4 gigahertz, or you can use the Bluetooth. It's totally up to you, whichever one you want. All right. So that is going to be the GLADIUS III. And let's go ahead and quickly take a look here at the KERIS. And I will go ahead and also put them side by side. So I guess maybe you can see them side by side so you can see the difference, right? But let me go ahead and bring up the KERIS really quick. And I will make sure to drop into the question right there. So give me 1 second. So you can see right here, we have, of course, that great looking design aesthetic that's present on the KERIS. You have the same kind of grip tape. You can see that nice USB-C based option right there. And keep in mind that these buttons right here on the KERIS will be still the PBT finishing. So that means that they're going to be very, very different in terms of the feel from the rest of the body. So they add a little bit of kind of additional grip on themselves. And they also, of course, are going to be very, very resilient to any type of shine or sheen or kind of fading just because of the benefits of a PBT based material. And again, moonlight white, or you can get it in the classic black, right? And you still get a little bit of RGB on these as well. Now, that's going to be less RGB than you would have, of course, on our standard models, right? Where you're going to have multiple RGB lighting zones, right? But let's go ahead and put these two side by side, just so you can go ahead and see them. And I will jump into the chat in a second, just so you guys can see the... so I can just make sure to answer any questions that anybody might have on these. I don't have all the details, but I just wanted to go ahead and, be able to let you guys know what we have coming down the pipe here, okay? All right, so let me go ahead and kind of make the size somewhat similar to kind of what they might be like. There we go. All right, so here you go. You can see here's the GLADIUS III and here's the KERIS. I went ahead and zoomed a little bit more in the GLADIUS III because the GLADIUS III will be a little bit of a longer body, a little bit of taller. So again, it's a little bit more in that kind of medium to large type of design in terms of the hand. And the KERIS is going to be a little bit more compact in terms of the overall body, right? But you can see still very similar in terms of their overall design. They're both considered what we would call an ergonomic based design as opposed to like a symmetrical design, which would be like more like our Strix Impact mouse or our Pugio 2. And we will have an update to the actual Strix Impact as well. So you're going to want to make sure to keep it tuned for that. All right, so that is going to be new for those. So again, 36,000 Aimpoint based sensor, ROG micro switches, the grip tape, new wireless technology for even faster and better wireless transmission, onboard memory profiles, tri-mode connectivity, 2.4, USB-C, and Bluetooth. So pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and see if we have any quick questions right there from those guys. So, new mouse pads. Nothing that I can talk about right now. We are looking potentially maybe at some updates, but nothing immediately right now in terms of anything new. Okay. Nori's asking for a BIOS option to adjust. It's not realistic. People that ask for UEFI BIOSes just don't understand the complexity of trying to do something like that in the firmware. The reality is that while it's theoretically possible, you have to really also reserve a huge amount of BIOS space for future CPUs, for auto rule compliance support, and for a lot of other elements. And the reality is that it's far easier to be able to manage it within the software environment. And I really challenge anybody, I really do. If you want to say that it's a memory footprint, I can load up literally the software right now and show you that when it's active, it uses what's called a Windows WP container, and the container actually within that application means that it's suspended. That literally means that when it's not open, it doesn't use 1% of CPU resource. Regardless if there's an active service, there's no CPU utilization that's present. Only when the application is literally opened will the actual CPU then be loaded, which even when it's then, it's considered what's called a low task prioritization, which means that it's going to be, maybe 1% CPU utilization, and the memory footprint is going to be less than Adobe Creative Cloud, less than Discord, less than GeForce Experience, and many other applications. It's less than Logitech's software for their mouse suite. So I really this whole argument that people want to sometimes present that the software is even bloatware, I really also don't feel is fair to us, because from version 1 to version 5, the software, we've added in everything from fan control functionality to system monitoring to driver updating to SSD health management to scenario profiling, where you can have your applications automatically switch different types of RGB lighting, different fan profiles, different audio profiles. That's all functional, right? It's actually useful. And also, even trying to equivalently even add some of the elements that we have within software becomes very complicated to do in UEFI firmware, and it just becomes simpler. It's very similar to fan controls, right? It took us years to implement fan controls in the UEFI, but even then, if you go into the operating system, we can give you GPU temp input mapping, right? We can give you the ability to rename the headers. We can give you actually more gradient options, right, in terms of how the calibration process works. So there's always going to be pros and cons to the software and firmware based experience that people will want, and we'll continue to evaluate it, but the reality is that it's very, very challenging, and right now our commitment is to continue to improve upon the experience. We have over 20 million active users that utilize Armory Crate, and I think that the experience is quite solid right now. So that is what it is. Let's go ahead and keep moving that along. Let me just see right here if I've got any other questions on the mice right there. So how loud is the clicking sound in the mouse? So that's a really great question. But what I can tell you, right, is again, remember that when you talk about the push fit socket design, let me see if I have any images right here. Yeah, so I can show you again right here. Remember, if you're not aware with our push fit socket design, you can go ahead and open up the mouse. So this is actually the GLADIUS III right here, and you can see there's all these different types of switches. You can easily remove the mouse switch, and I actually even showed in a prior video how to do what's called a soft click mod. So you can actually get KL silent switches, and you can slightly mod them. All you need to do is file them just a little bit to be able to fit in the actual socket, and you could have almost pretty much a silent mouse. If you really were bothered by crisp, clean, actuated switches, you could go to that route. You trade off in terms of reliability a little bit, because the silent switches are not going to last as long as compared to a standard switch. I think they're rated for 3 million or 5 million or something like that, compared to 70 million. And they also won't have something like the gold plating that you have in terms of the electroplating that is on the inside of that, which helps to reduce things like mitigation for oxidation. But that's one of the great things, is that unlike Logitech, SteelSeries, Razer, Pulsar, it doesn't matter who it is, nobody else gives you the ability to easily change your switches the way that we do. You literally would have to try to rip open the mouse if it's designed to be opened. Then you'd have to take a soldering iron, desolder the switch, and then resolder the switch. And if you're not very good at soldering, you could damage the whole PCB, right? And you could kill the mouse, right? So with us, it's much simpler. Take a screwdriver, take out 2 or 4 screws, pull the shell off, take out the switch, put the new switch in, and then put it back on, and you're done. So, you know, up to you which level of kind of customization you're looking for, right? All right, let me just go ahead and see any other quick questions right there. If not, we're going to go ahead and keep moving it along. We have a question right there. Any ROG Throne updates? Right now, no plan. We have kind of discussed it internally. So that's the Throne right here. That's our very high-end headphone stand. It has a USB hub built in. It has a DAC. It has wireless charging. There's still not really that many competitors to this option that even exist, right? So that's not why there were not an immediate reason to update it, but we have talked about potentially a refreshed version with some changes and some even kind of further enhancements. So maybe in the future, but nothing to discuss right now, okay? Kevin's asking about 8,000 polling. We already have 8,000 polling. ROG Chakra Max supports 8K. So you, if you want to go that, but keep in mind that with 8K polling, while it's a really nice feature, it does take more CPU resources. So some people that, I don't want to say complain, but when you get people that also always talk about CPU resource utilizations, even though the reason why you buy a higher end system is to have more cores and it can operate faster so you can run more things on your system, you will use more resources when you pull because you're essentially sending data across the bus. This is like a really interesting characteristic. Like when I see people that get like really fast drives and they're not aware that if you were actually to measure the CPU utilization when you attempt to saturate something like a PCI Gen 4 drive, you'll see your CPU utilization massively spike up because it takes a huge number of threads and processing to account for all that data IO that's being pushed across the bus. So there's always a balancing act. So I'd still think 1000 Hertz is going to still be the continued kind of gold standard really for the foreseeable future for some time, but we are committed to continue offering even faster and faster options as they're made available, and then of course users can select them as they see fit, right? Okay. Ethan's asking, what about big mice pads? Well, we have ones. This right here, have you seen this? This whole thing is a huge desk mat. So we have the ROG Sheaf and we have the ROG Scabbard. Those are really big desk mats. I wouldn't even call them a mouse pad, right? So yeah, there's a lot of different options right there. So let's keep moving it along. We got a lot of things. If you got questions, keep dropping them in there. I will try to get to them when I can. And if you guys didn't see, pricing right there on the ROG Gladius III Aimpoint we're projecting is going to be $110, okay? And then the ROG KERIS Aimpoint will be coming in at $90, okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look here at the GT6. So give me 1 second to go ahead and open that one up. So I'll go ahead and get that open there. So give me 1 second. All right, so the GT6 is going to be a pretty sweet router. Well, it's technically actually a mesh Wi-Fi system, not just a single router, and it's the first under our gaming lineup for mesh Wi-Fi. Although technically you could have taken any of our gaming routers like the GT AX6000, the ROG Rapture AX11000, or any of our gaming routers and just paired it together through AI Mesh. So we've already really been offering gaming mesh Wi-Fi systems for literally years at this point, and the only manufacturer to really be committed to it to a high degree. But here, this is the first kind of out of the box, let's say, branded unit in that regard. So that is kind of the difference that you have here with the GT6. So the GT6 will be a tri-band based unit, so that means you're going to have 2 different bands that'll be able, 3 different bands. 2 bands would be available to you because 1 band is always referred to as what's called a backhaul. A backhaul means that's actually the wireless signal that is utilized to connect the 2 nodes together to be able to create the mesh network. So tri-band is advantageous because if you had a dual band mesh network, which is what most mesh most networks are going to be comprised of, you actually only have 1 band that's available to you to connect all your devices to. So having 3 bands is preferred because you can maintain 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, so get better performance for 2 class of devices, and then you can maintain that other active connection for the connection between the 2 nodes. You can also go with an Ethernet backhaul if you have the ability to run wire from one node to another node, so that is also flexibility there. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the GT6. It's got a really cool design to it. This is right here. So you're going to see it's kind of this like little compact node unit. It's got a really cool kind of pixel graphics type of design. It will be our first unit that will actually have controllable actually display. So our current units, they do have RGB lighting and you can customize in the router, but it hasn't really allowed for a customization element to it. So here, these will actually allow for even more customization too. So we'll have more details as we get closer to the launch in terms of the specific level of customization and how that will work, but that will be present in here. You have 9 internal smart antennas that also works with an advanced quad-core chipset that we have present in here, 1.7 gigahertz base quad-core chipset, so very, very high performance. Keep in mind that many users might still have a router that might be running like an entry-level dual-core, like 600, 800 megahertz. So this is a huge step up in performance. Really does great to be able to address many more devices simultaneously. Also to be able to run things like VPN, whether it's like OpenVPN or even WireGuard directly on the router for much, much better performance. And you have all our really awesome features like traffic analysis through DPI analysis. So that's deep packet inspection. We can actually monitor all the packets that are coming through. And if you want to prioritize gaming, you want to prioritize streaming, you want to prioritize browsing, you can do all that great stuff. You have full access in our ASUS Router app, or you have a full web-based interface that's available to you. Tons of really awesome options. So we'll also be offering it in white. Okay, again, we are the #1 manufacturer offering white and black-based product portfolio. Again, there's nobody else that's coming close with this level of work. And again, it's really, really hard from our production team. So if you guys appreciate it, please let us know because it's not easy. It's quite challenging. So again, right here, very, very cool kind of design aesthetic. It will come in this match paired configuration because it is a mesh Wi-Fi system. So this is going to be really well suited for people that have much larger home environments. So we're not talking even like 3,000 square feet. You're talking about 3,000, 3,500, 4,500, 5,000 square feet. So large home environments, you want to be able to cover like, you know, the patio, the backyard, first story and the second story, right? So you're really looking for a broad level of coverage, plus all the great features that I've talked about, like prioritization, DPI packet analysis, and so many other kind of things that are built in here. And there you can also see the Moonlight White that we have present. And of course, just for reference, kind of comparing the two, there's a router, traditional router with our GT AXE 16000, which will still really be the flagship gaming device on the market. And you could, even if you wanted to make a really big mesh network, you could put 2 of these guys together. And this even goes to the next level because this guy's got 10 gigabit LAN and even faster chipset. And it even has quad band technology as opposed to tri-band technology, right? I do also want to note that GT6 also has 2.5 gigabit networking built on board, so designed for the next generation of ISP services too, okay? So that is going to be really cool right there. All right, Alex says the white one is nice, very, very cool. We need the kind of, I love this from David. What we have come to, that we need the kind of RGB on our mesh nodes. Hey, right, why not, right? Yeah, Jeff Clark is giving us a little bit of shout out. Knowing ASUS routers, it will be a monster performer. I definitely agree. If you really look at kind of our performance markers from PC World, Small Net Builder, right, you know, Dong Nose Techs, really a lot of great sources. You'll find that ASUS is really at the forefront in terms of offering very performant designs. You know, we have an outstanding track record also in our reliability. We're the #1 reliability rated router, I think, for almost a decade. So we're very proud of that as well. So very, very cool. All right, so let's get ready to keep moving along. All right, you just see right here. Chia's asking, sorry for being off topic, but are you working with people like EK to create water blocks for AM5? Do you think they will launch? I can't comment on partners, but what I can tell you is that we actively coordinate with water block partners for both graphics cards and for motherboards, right? So that includes partners like EK, that includes partners like Bits Power, that includes partners like, you know, AlphaCool, that includes partners like Baiski. It doesn't matter. We are the #1 block partner validation for actually both GPUs outside of a Founders Edition type card, and then similarly on motherboards, we're the #1 block partner produced, right? So our boards are the #1 boards for block production for partners. So it's almost generally a guarantee. It just comes down to which boards. Now, because of the tooling costs from a manufacturer, some manufacturers will wait a little bit to kind of test the waters to see if they'll produce additional blocks, but it's almost generally a guarantee. I can't confirm that. You would have to confirm with, let's say, EK, but generally for like a block partner like a EK, for something like our Hero, which is generally going to be a #1 type of seller board, it's very common to be able to ensure sure that you're going to be able to get a block for that type of board. But then are you going to see it maybe for like a Dash E, or maybe for like a Tough Gaming, or even for like a Mini ITX? They tend to kind of wait a little bit to see in terms of kind of the popularity and the adoption before they go about developing a block solution, right? So, you know, you will have to follow up with them in that regard, right? Okay. So that takes care of that. Okay, very, very cool. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and drop that in there, and we will keep moving that along. So that is going to be the ROG Rapture GT6. We talked about the GLADIUS III Aimpoint. We talked about the ROG KERIS Aimpoint. We talked about the RYUO III that'll also be coming out there, and we talked, of course, about this. The AM5 X670E based motherboards. So rounding up a little bit of that news, I do have one other item that I want to go ahead and show you guys. So give me a second to go ahead and load it up here. That is going to be, it's not a new product because we've already, of course, going to be launching these in North America very shortly, probably about next month. But I wanted to give you guys an update that we will, we will be offering the ROG Cetra wireless based in-ear. Some people call them in-ear headphones. Some people call them in-ear monitors. Some people call them earbuds, true wireless buds. But we will offer these in white as well. So that is an update. So there you can see them in the white design. Excuse me. And there you can see it in the black. So we will have them in white, and we will also have them in black. And we also have confirmed that, remember, we will also be coming out later with the even higher end variant, the ROG True Cetra Wireless Pro, which I will show you again here, which is the very cool, actually dual model. It's like the first model on the market to ever offer both wireless and wired functionality. So you can see via the cool little accessory where you can click it onto place when you want to have the benefit of even going to higher resolution, better stability, and of course the best experience possible. You can go to the wired connection, have that native USB-C connection, and just plug that into your switch and plug it into your laptop, plug it into your desktop. And when you want to go full true wireless, then of course you can detach that and also take advantage of the wireless. So that model will be coming out later, but the Cetra True Wireless will be out before the Cetra True Wireless Pro. So do just kind of keep that in mind there. All right, we're gonna get ready to talk about some LCDs. I'm gonna go pretty quick on a lot of these LCDs, but I'm going to go first with the ROG Swift OLED because I know a lot of you have been waiting on that. So that's what I'm going to touch on first, and then we will get into the other new monitors that we will have announced. I do also want to quickly go ahead and shout out a little bit of a confirmation right here on an item that we will be coming out with, which will be the Loki. So I know that we've had questions about it. So if you don't know, now you know. The Loki is going to be right here. This is our SFX based power supply. It's a very cool base power supply. So this is going to be more compact than your traditional ATX based power supplies, Cybernex based certification, Lambda based certification. So extremely quiet, which is actually a little bit harder to find really with some of these SFX based PSUs, which is kind of almost like counterproductive in a way, because you want to have this small PSU for a smaller build, which is probably closer to you, right? So you don't want it to really be loud, but sometimes these smaller PSUs are a little bit louder than, of course, if you would have went with a traditional ATX based PSU. So we worked very hard, of course, to be able to have the continued optimization, which we have in terms of the internal topology, the heatsink designs, and our specialized fan designs to really be able to give you that cool, quiet operation, great topology performance, fully modular based design. ATX3 based specification support also is going to be present here. So, and of course that cool RGB lighting. So very, very cool. So that is going to be the Loki 3, and you can see right there different wattages. This will come all the way up until I believe the highest model will be the 1200 watt, but I think the first models coming will be the 850 watt and then the 1000 watt. So you should probably see the Loki show up maybe by about the very end of Q3, moving into Q4 timeframe. So make sure to keep it tuned. If you're excited about that, let me know. I'm excited about it. I think they're going to be pretty cool. And also a great option for our AP201 chassis, right? Which is our micro ATX based chassis, which is great for mini ITX based motherboards or micro ATX based motherboards, or maybe even something like our Z11, right? Which is of course a little bit larger mini ITX chassis, but still a form factor kind of optimized that's designed for kind of smaller based items. Pasquit's asking about the 1200 watt. I can't confirm for you. I think our goal would be, Q4 for the 1200 watt, but just make sure to stay tuned. As soon as I have a kind of a timeline for it, I'll post it in the group. But right now, I think our expectation is probably going to be about Q4. Okay. All right. Let me just see right there. Any questions that we got right there? How much? No pricing I can give you on the Loki. So, but when we're getting ready to go ahead and release it, we will definitely have that information. Okay. All right. All right. OLED. Yes. OLED. Yeah. Don't worry. Someone, Astro Sky was asking firmware methods for the earbuds. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but in terms of updating, yeah, we have actually already a dedicated app that exists on the mobile platform, and also for the models that can connect via USB-C, just like our ROG Delta, we can do firmware updating that way. So you would either kind of update it wirelessly, right, where we just send and send it through Bluetooth communication, right, or you would also go ahead and be able to complete it directly through USB-C if you connected it that way. Okay. All right. Let's get ready. Let's jump into OLED, right? Okay. So finally enough, right? Like JJ, hey, come on. I've been waiting. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look right here. So let me go ahead and just load this up right here, guys. All right. So here it is. ROG Swift OLED. Let's get into this. My goodness, where is it? All right, okay, bam, there we go, ROG Swift OLED. All right, guys, so here we go. Let's take a look at a little bit of the video right here. So yes, finally, it's coming next month. We're right now prepping in terms of channel distribution and availability. So September should be our target time frame for release, initially for the display. So we're gonna have a 42-inch version, which you can see will be coming in. And then also a 48-inch version. All the features and functionalities that I'm going to be talking about are pretty much identical between the two, so it just comes down to the specific preference in terms of the size. So do you want the 42-inch or do you want the 48-inch? Now, the reason why we refer to this, of course, as a gaming monitor and is not as a television is because specifically we've optimized the functionality and the connectivity to be specifically tailored towards a monitor. Right now, if you take something like an LG C1 or C2, it doesn't work the way that a monitor works, right? One, it doesn't have DisplayPort. It doesn't have normal sleep standby resume functionality, so it becomes quite a bit more kind of challenging to use it in the traditional way that you would use a monitor, where you make the connection, you kind of power on your system, you turn it off and on correctly, and you have a normal kind of resume expected experience. Even also the way that switching would work in terms of inputs, it's not the same way that it works on a traditional monitor. So that is going to be one of just the big inherent differences that we have between, let's say, like a quote-unquote TV and then, of course, what we'd have in terms of a display. But, of course, it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of additional design work that we went ahead and put in to it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of breakdown on some of the specific design elements that we have here. So let me go ahead and bring that up here. All right, so we'll bring up the product page, and that pricing is confirmed pricing. So again, $13.99 and then $14.99. So it's only $100 difference between the two. Okay, and so here, if you go ahead and check out the product page, we have pretty much all the breakdown information. So I want to go through just some of the key points in terms of helping understand some of the benefits that we have when it comes to the OLED. The first one right here will be, I think this critical one is going to be the out-of-box factory calibration. So right now, most televisions, they can offer outstanding picture quality, but they're again not necessarily optimized for out-of-box color accuracy. And so that again is a difference. With ROG Swift displays, all of them always come from the factory calibrated. And so we've done that to be able to go ahead and hit the Delta E accuracy, which is essentially what's referred to as the breaking point in terms of color perception for the human eye. So it's very, very good. You could even tune it tighter if you wanted to. If you had your own colorimeter and you wanted to even get tighter, go for it. You know, whether or not you'll see it, that of course is always going to be a little bit of question and conjecture, or how good your eyes are in terms of how much you've kind of be kind of comfortable with pixel peeping, or kind of taking a look at some variances between different kind of color swatches and patterns and things along those lines. But the big point here is that you get good, consistent color quality right out of the box. You don't have to do anything as a user. You already can have that great experience. And this is critical, especially for a monitor where most things that we're still looking at are in SDR and are in sRGB. And so this is important to make sure that when you go ahead and load it up, you have that consistent experience, whether you're jumping into your web browser, looking at photos, watching a video, or of course playing games. Okay. Now, another one right here is going to be the custom heatsink design, right? So if you're not aware, one of the real kind of disadvantages of an OLED is going to be its self-emissive nature is also defined by its lifespan, which is affected by heat, right? And so a critical part to be able to maximize the overall lifespan for OLED in itself is to try to ensure that the OLED doesn't break certain temperature points. So the goal was, by implementing a heatsink, was to be able to try to target essentially having it be around 50°C in terms of its actual operating temperature. This helps to not only maximize the lifespan for the OLED panel itself, but also helps to maintain better performance in terms of brightness, because inversely, right, a challenge for OLED displays is to get really bright, and the brighter they get, the more that the heat increases, right? And so ideally, by having the heatsink design, we help to manage that expectation as well, which helps us to ultimately have a better experience when it comes to brightness, right? So that is going to be another key differentiation between, let's say, this and, again, a TV that you would be looking at in terms of an OLED based panel. Now, another difference that we're also going to see that's present within this will be, if we take a look here, let's see, this one right here, which is of course going to be the coating which we have on the display. A traditional based television uses a glossy based display. We've gone ahead and optimized a specialized micro texture coating. It's very clean. I don't feel that it affects the overall quality in terms of the display. Keep in mind that most people, when they've had a monitor, it's always going to be generally some form of an AG display, so an anti-glare display. Why? Because you might have overhead lighting, right, in your room or in your office, right? You might have a window that pops over light to you in the back, right? It can be difficult to control that. And going to a really glossy display, it can also be really reflective. Like, you could literally see yourself in there. But in a TV environment, if you're sitting like 6 feet away, this is generally less of an issue. You don't ever have that generally happen. Although it is a concern for some people that have very bright living room environments, or they have direct sun. And that's the reason why there's still popular TVs that utilize other types of technologies as well. So to be able to give the most flexibility, our goal was to be able to implement a very high quality micro texture based coating in this regard. And also, this does provide more color accuracy when it comes to accounting for glare, because glare can actually change the warmth of the picture when you're viewing it. So this also helps to improve that experience. So that is going to be another difference that you're going to have there. Now, beyond that, of course, this display will have G-Sync compatibility and FreeSync compatibility. So if you have an AMD-based graphics card, you're good. If you have an NVIDIA-based graphics card, you're good. Okay, it will have quite a bit of functionality here in terms of that we have connections on the side as well as on the top. It has a 5-way navigation joystick, but I really like something right here that I want to show you, which is, let me go ahead and bring this up, which is going to be our display widget software. So the cool thing about the display widget software is you can actually load this up, and as long as you have the cable connected right to your PC, then you can control all the settings inside of Windows. You don't have to physically even touch that button. So you can adjust things like the brightness, the contrast. You can have things like our app sync. So if you want to have different profiles matched to different applications, so you want to have your web browser have one profile, you want to have a game have another profile, you want to have your video player have another profile, you can do all that, and really streamlines the overall experience. So display widget is another way, even beyond the nice clean 5-way navigation system, to be able to give you flexibility. You've got an included remote, and that of course is also complimentary here, that the sound design that we have here, it's the best sound design that we've ever put on a monitor. It's quite loud, it's quite dynamic and quite punchy. Two 10-watt stereo speakers right there, and then also a 15-watt subwoofer, so it's punchy. So if you just want to be able to enjoy some really nice gaming, no headphones, no nothing else, then actually it's quite good experience just from the ROG Swift itself. Okay. In terms of the connectivity, it's stacked. It's got tons of connections that are going to be on here. You've got your two HDMI 2, then you have two HDMI 2.1, and then critically, you've got that display port, which is also on there, which is going to be kind of the standard connection which users would use on the PC. Now, keep in mind that this monitor does also support a factory overclocked refresh rate. So it is all the way up to 138 as opposed to kind of like your standard 120. But to be able to get the highest refresh rate, you do need to use HDMI 2.1. If you do utilize the display port would be maxed at that 120 4K operating experience. So do keep that in mind. In addition to that, you've got a headphone jack. You have USB ports that are on there, which are also really nice to be able to attach things maybe like wireless adapters or other types of accessories that you might want to have. And there's also a tripod socket at the top. We call it a tripod socket, but really it's just a quarter thread mount. So you can go ahead and attach everything from, you know, a camera to a light to a microphone to any number of different types of accessories are all available for you to go ahead and take advantage of. The base also is a nice area of improvement. I think it's far more stable than a basic stand for a television, and it also has a little bit of a different ergonomic height, which sits better line of sight. So I think it's a little bit better there. Another item right here is going to be that the actual uniform brightness implementation, we actually have an option that will allow you to go ahead and essentially toggle this. So on a traditional display that has what's called ABL, or an automatic brightness limiter, when you go from like a dark to a bright scene to conserve the lifespan of OLED, it will actually automatically darken the display. And then you end up kind of having to go through this back and forth bouncing of light and dark, light and dark, light and dark. But when you have our uniform brightness mechanism, it will reduce the maximum peak brightness, but it will allow for a far more consistent experience. So again, this is the difference between like a monitor and just using something from like a more gaming centric experience, right? So again, here, if you're going to actually do productivity, you're going to be reading email, you're going to be opening up web pages, this is a far more comfortable experience to use the uniform brightness option that is available to you. So this is another big distinguishing point that we have on the ROG Swift monitor as opposed to a TV, okay? You also do have our overlays that we've had always in our gaming displays. So you have things like, you know, a stopwatch, crosshair, timers, FPS counter, sniper options that are all there. Our game visual options, which include specialized tuned presets, which essentially kind of allow for different kind of picture profiles, which is something that you commonly would see like on a TV, but we've tuned these for different types of game engines. So like FPS take, for instance, will punch up the contrast a bit, help to boost shadows and things along those lines, and you can customize those as you like, okay? And then this is also another really cool feature. If you've ever used a very large format display, most users don't really run everything full screen. They tend to actually run things in kind of multiple windows within the bigger window environment. And that's something I would recommend. There's actually some really great power toys and some special extensions that work really well to being able to benefit like a 42-inch monitor workflow. And if you're interested in those, make sure to tag me in the group and I can let you know about them. But this is a really nice option right here where you can actually adjust the aspect ratio. And because OLED is a self-emissive technology, it looks very clean and consistent. So if you want to scale this down for specific games, specific in scenarios where you don't want to necessarily leverage the entirety of the screen and it's more comfortable for you to work within that 24, 27, or 34, then you can choose this aspect ratio control and be able to adjust that. So that is a really cool, another level of functionality that's available to you there. Somebody's asking about text fringing. So text fringing, I think that's a good question. So traditionally, if you talk about WOLED, it's not going to be as good as a standard OLED, like in our ProArt displays, where that's not even a WOLED, it's a pure OLED. So it's just RGB. But it will still be superior to something like a QD OLED, which because of a different subpixel structure actually has a much more fuzzy nature to the actual text. So most users, as you can see right here, you can actually see that the font rendering, it's because it's a standard subpixel structure, looks clean and it looks good. Now the PPI though is going to be superior on something like an IPS, you know, like 4K monitor that we would have under like our ROG PG series. So if you really cared about the absolute sharpness, OLED is amazing for things like contrast, of course, for black reproduction, and even for HDR, even though it doesn't get as bright as some of our other kind of high-end HDR displays. But I still think text is superior in terms of a traditional IPS-based display, but it's still quite good here. And definitely it would be superior than you know, something like a QD-based OLED that you would have here. So I wouldn't be concerned with it from that perspective, okay? All right, so that I think covers most of the key points on this display. In terms of the ROG Swift, there's a lot that we've packed in there in terms of the overall features and functionality that is present on here. We're really excited about this display. Really, I think a great set of specifications and features. And again, we'll have actually some pre-order information, I believe actually going up in September. We're right now coordinating with some channel partners, but we'll have actually some specific announcements on our social channels as well as in the PCDIY group when you can pretty much say like, hey, it's available, but September will be the release target. So in the not too distant future, literally just about maybe you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, we'll probably start to see it pop up. And again, we'll have the pricing right there is $13.99 and then $14.99. All right, so that gives you a quick recap on the ROG Swift OLED right there. Before I go ahead and move things on though, because there is a lot that I packed in there, I do want to go ahead and see if anybody has any questions on that before I get to some of the other displays that we do have. So give me 1 second here to just load this up. I want to make sure that if there's other questions that I do cover those. So give me 1 second. And I do have some general images right here that just get a little bit closer. So I just want to kind of go a little bit of a tour again right here. So again, if you want to see a little bit of the closer remote, you have, of course, the power on, you have the input switching, you have some options right there, muting, and of course, your volume. And there, if some people wonder what that is, those are the speakers right there. There's the 5-way dial. And then of course right here, you've got the cable routing, very stable base. And again, it's a little bit more optimized for kind of the align level height that you would want to have for a monitor, although it's still dimensionally, it's quite large, right? So you still do want to have ideally enough space on your desk. There's just a kind of closer shot there on the back. And again, this portion here is entirely removable. And at the top right here, we have that USB port that complements the threaded mount. So if you had something that needed USB power, it can be plugged in right there. So you don't have to like run a cable like all the way back here. It can literally just plug right in there. Here's all the connectors. As you can see, we have a little bit more optimally suited to kind of work in towards a desktop monitor type setup. So you've got your USB right there, which again, like I said, you could do a lot of different stuff. You could wireless adapters for peripherals if you wanted to. Then you of course have your SPDIF optical out, your HDMI, your display port. And there's the threaded mount that I was talking about right there. And there, right there, you can see is the USB port that I was talking about. All right, so that is going to cover that. Let me just see here if we got any questions. Somebody's asking about the PG32 UQ-XE. I don't have any updates specifically on the UQ-XE. Probably still looking maybe at a Q4 timeframe. That is going to be kind of the lower cost version of the current ROG PG32 UQ-X, which is a very high, ultra high end, of course, HDR 1400 base mini LED based display. It won't have as many zones as it, but it will still be a full array local dimming display, very high peak brightness on there, very good quality display. And I think for a lot of people, because of the lower price point compared to the PG32 UQ-X, it's going to be a popular option, but no updates for there. Okay. Danny is asking, is there a fan? No, it's a passive base heatsink design, so you don't have any fan that you have to worry about, okay? Paskowitz is asking about Micro Center availability. I do believe actually Micro Center will carry. I would have to double check that. If you can tag me in the group, I'll have that updated in the featured announcement post that I have up right now for confirmed US e-tailers, okay? So I'll make sure to add that in there. The port at the top, the USB port is power. Yes, it does provide power, but like always, you know, you have to make sure on the power output requirement. I don't remember exactly. I think the output requirement, it's not BC 1.2 compliance. So that doesn't mean that it's higher than standard USB specification power, but for basic things like a basic camera, many standard peripheral accessories, microphones, you should be fine in terms of standard power. Pretty much if it can get powered from like a normal desktop USB port, it would be the equivalent to it, but it's not going to provide higher level of power that you might have by something that might purposely support like BC 1.2 or like a USB PD based type protocol. Okay. Sumin, RG basketball. You're right. You did ask me about that. I will check on that. So I will follow up on that. Give me 1 second. Let me just see. David James. So we've issued a coordinated statement with Jay to be able to help him to I think clarify that, but the recall didn't actually take so long. I will be very frank with you in that regard. We actually made a formalized North American PR announcement in December 29th, and that was released to all North American technical media. We actually communicated in our own PC DIY group. We actually posted in Reddit, and our service and support team was actually notified with documentation and information with how to coordinate with customers. So they had all the information ready so that once that post went up, users could literally check their serial numbers, and we ran our own motherboard replacement program. Literally at that time, users were able to immediately go through and get their product replaced. And at the same time that we did that, we concurrently coordinated with the governmental agency, the CSPC, and we submitted a fast track claim to them by actually January 11th. From there, of course, the timeline, that is dependent on the CSPC in terms of their processing. So we would defer to them in terms of if there's more information that they want to disclose. They ultimately, of course, the culmination came in terms of finalizing their announcement through their process on August 18th. Through the entirety of that, we maintained our motherboard replacement program and never went away. We maintained active and we processed RMAs directly for users. We covered full two-way shipping for users. We actually even upgraded that to FedEx Super Saver. Actually, over time, we coordinated delisting the initial affected sample with e-tailers, and then from there, once we coordinated with our production team to get new production boards in place, we then relisted it, and then of course we went to coordinate any outstanding replacements with users. So hopefully that helps you understand that. We actually have a post about that in our PCDIY group. It's also up on our official website if you're interested in following through that information, but hopefully that gives you some insight. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and see right there. Any other questions right there? What is the response time for the monitor? It's actually the same, so pretty much the same. If you're talking about a self-emissive based display, so a lot of times the standard spec is going to be that 0.1 millisecond, so it's pretty much going to be consistent. And the great thing also is that the response time experience is consistent throughout the entirety of the refresh rate range, so it's very, very good. Now, technically, you can still have motion blur on an OLED. A lot of people are confused by that. It's not like you do not still have motion blur. There's benefits of still having higher and higher refresh rates, and technically from that perspective, still some LCDs can provide a benefit in that regard. But from that pure response, just because it's so clean and so smooth, it's very, very, very good. You can go ahead and use a VESA arm on there if you do want, but of course, we'll see kind of how people break that down, right, between VESA arm and then of course via stand, right? All right. All right, so I'm going to get ready to go to the next monitors right here because, again, we're packed in and I just don't know if I can fit them all in. Serious question. I need your opinion, JJ. I have two ROG boards switching motherboards with the same chipset. Do you still recommend a fresh Windows install? Yes. You might not like hearing that opinion, but I'm going to say yes. I've generally found in my experience, if your Windows install is more than a year old, just because there's been changes in the Windows base build, you might have changes in your base chipset driver, and there's also probably new UEFI firmware that could have also changed auto rules. They could have maybe changed certain low-level parameters to the chipset. In terms of kind of firmware for that, I always would recommend a fresh, clean install. Also keep in mind that on occasion, this is important, that your original motherboard has, of course, its own MAC address, which is associated to the network card, right? That's built on motherboard. Some applications, some even games for kind of, privacy concerns, and some applications that have activation policies actually can link to your MAC address. So you also want to try to sometimes make sure that you deactivate those applications so that when you reinstall, right, you don't run into the kind of a headache of it thinking it's actually on a different system. Now, if the software supports multiple clients, you might not even realize, and it'll just activate in the background, but it can leave that client locked in if you never unlock it. So just something you might want to keep in mind there, Johnny boy. All right, so let's keep moving that along. All right. Okay, all right, let's keep going. We've got too many things to cover and not enough time. All right, guys, so let's see here. So next up, we've got a couple of new displays that we have coming out right here. So that is going to be, give me 1 second right here. Do I have this file? I think I might need to copy this file here. 1 second, Okay, no, I have it right there. Okay, great. All right, and here we've got this, I think, XG monitor. Let's go with the XG monitor. So the XG monitor, we're going to have two of them that we're going to talk about here. There's going to be the the 4K, and then there'll be a 1440p. So it's going to be, we will have the, let's go. Do you guys want 27-inch or 32-inch? Go, 5 seconds. 27-inch or 32-inch? Which one's it going to be? Let's go. Velvet Diamond's asking right here, do JJ, do both the Extreme and the Hero have the same 10K caps and microfine alloy choice, or is it just the Extreme model? Velvet Diamond, no worries, 100%. The actual VRM topology is pretty much almost identical. So there's only a slight difference in the total number of the teamed power stage configuration. So like on the Hero, you have 18 plus 2, and then on the Extreme, you have 20 plus 2. But the microfine alloy choice, the differential dye sense voltage monitoring, the 10K rated capacitors, all of those elements are identical between the two. So you can feel very, very confident. I mean, the VRM is already really almost overbuilt, right? It's an outstanding, very, very high performance based VRM assembly. So it's not a limiting factor in either one. But in terms of those core parameters, the microfine alloy inductors and the 10K rated capacitors, those are exactly identical, along with the differential dye sense monitoring, which is exclusive to the ROG series, where like if you looked at the ROG Strix, the inductors would be different. The capacitors would be different, and then they wouldn't also have the differential dye sense monitoring would also now be present on there. Although they have, again, a very high performant VRM assembly because it's still an 18 plus 2, 110 amp power stages, and all three of those boards are all SPS based power stages as well. Okay. All right, anyways, 32. All right, 30, sorry, right there, 30. All right, so everybody says 32. All right, so let's go. We're going to talk about the XG32UQ and the XG32AQ. So let me see if I got my little slides for those guys. Do I have them up there? Oh, I don't even have them up there. All right, I'm going to need to make a quick. Let me make just a quick little banner right there for these guys. All right, here we go. All right, so these are going to be another set of displays. So let me go ahead and get the images up for these ones. I have them over here. So that is the XG32UQ, is that right? Yep. Okay, yeah, so this should be, yep. So here we go. All right, so these are going to be kind of updates to the current set of monitors that we have available right now. You can see they have the brand new base design that's going to be present on there, which is all black, thin, very clean borders. These will be a display HDR 600 based specification support, which even though that's of course not HDR 1000, it still gives you a little bit of punch. The big benefit is actually more for SDR. Generally, these panels are also going to be much brighter than your traditional panels. So if you've never made the upgrade in the first place and you still may be running a monitor that might be only like HDR like HDR 200, but like 200 nits, being able to go to a display that can actually even under SDR be able to get like 350, 400 nits. It's quite a bit brighter even without going into HDR mode. So that's a nice benefit that you're going to have available to you. You're also going to have HDMI, outstanding coverage in terms of sRGB and even DCI-3. So color gamut performance is going to be great. These are going to be factory calibrated Delta 2E average that you're going to have on here. The two monitors in terms of the 4K to the 1440p are almost very similar in terms of the refresh rate. There's only a slight difference in terms of the max refresh rate. So this is going to be right here. This is the AQ. So the AQ will be the 1440p base model. And then let me show you guys here, the UQ, which the UQ will be the 4K model, and it's going to look almost identical. You're going to be like, I can't even tell the difference, JJ. And that's just because one's 32 inch and the, one's 4K and one's going to be 1440p, right? So, but from a design perspective, they're pretty much going to look identical, and they're both going to be 32 inches, okay? And let me go ahead and just finish confirming there on those quick set of specifications for you that will be on those. So again, yeah, that will be 4K, 1440p, fast IPS-based display, 1 millisecond gray to gray response time as well. That's of course an average. The OC range in terms of the refresh rate will be 175 hertz or 160 hertz. So 160 hertz for the 4K and 175 hertz for the 1440p for that. And then of course you will have the HDMI 2.1 that will be present there as well. So those are going to be updates, and those should be coming also in the not too distant future. So they'll be coming up pretty soon. And I think those are going to be very, very popular. Both of those displays, like 32 inch, I think a lot of people that are wanting to step up and go a little bit bigger than the 27, but really have the proven kind of performance of fast IPS based display, are going to be really happy about those. Okay. All right, so that is going to be that guy. And then we got the PG27UQR. Okay. And this one will be, again, 160 hertz, This will be 4K, 1 millisecond graded gray, and HDR 600, and HDMI 2.1. Okay. So this is kind of an update where we previously had a high performance spec based 27-inch. So this will be another update that we'll also have available. So the 4K, the high refresh rate, the HDMI 2.1, the fast IPS based display. And the other thing too, don't forget, is that these models do also support our Dust Mount Kit. The Dust Mount Kit will give you the flexibility. If you want to swap this base, you have the option that you can swap the base. The Dust Mount Kit is less than $50 or about there. And that will allow you to immediately turn the monitor into a C-clamp based monitor design. So you can just mount it onto a desk and have a really nice clean aesthetic if you're interested in that. I can show you what that looks like in case you are wondering. So let me just go ahead and show you super quick here. This is the ROG Dust Mount Kit, so you'll see it's a small little just accessory. You can purchase it, and this would be how it would look if you went ahead and attached it to the base and monitor. Allows you to have that really nice, clean, stylized aesthetic, okay? All right. Rapid, somebody asked about the PG32UQ XE. Just like I said, I don't have any updates for it right now. Still be planned, probably not going to be until Q4, so just make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned right there. Okay. Ethan asking about any glossy. No, we do not have any plans for a glossy based panel on the OLED side. Okay. Okay, so I think we got through all of the Gamescom stuff and those new panels. So let me just go ahead and double check. So we got the Loki out of the way. We got the GT6 out of the way. We got our AM5 motherboards out of the way. We got the XG32AQ, the XG32UQ, the ROG Swift PG series, both the 42 and the 48 UQ, and then the PG7UQR. So yes, we got all of those out of the way. And then we gave you the updates on the ROG GLADIUS AIMPOINT and the KERIS wireless and the Cetra True wireless. So those are all covered. All right, awesome. Now we've actually got the products that we have coming out right now are actually coming out. So let's see how many I can get of those as quickly as I can. All right, so, but before I do that, I do want to give you the little bit of the update right here on the Tough Gaming GT502. We are going to be probably looking for an October release time frame. Could maybe get in November, but I think it's probably going to be hopefully October. Make sure to keep it tuned right here. I've shown it with a fully spec'd out system right here, but I wanted to actually show you an image of what it looks like without anything in it. So this is our split chamber based design. You can see it's got nice, lots of room in there. Of course, you can go with different types of configurations in terms of the actual GPU. It has the brand new Tough Gaming vector design language that's on there. You have those nice straps, which are so popular on the GT501, and I really love the overall design aesthetic of this chassis right here. And now let's go ahead and show you what it looks like when it's got something in it, right? There you go. All right, just looks even that much cooler, right? Here you can really see you've got a fantastic amount of room to be really able to stylize this. And of course, while it's Tough Gaming, you could put in, of course, ROG hardware in here, but you can definitely, of course, make it at home with, of course, a Tough Gaming motherboard, Tough Gaming graphics card. Those Tough Gaming fans, right, would also be a great fit in there. You can see you have full room for a nice custom distro in there if you wanted to fit that in there. There's the motherboard. There's the graphics card, tons of room for cable management, and you'll have a lot of orientation. And of course, when we take a look right here at the front I/O, you're gonna see you've got your USB-C, you got your 2 Type A, you've got additional buttons there for lighting control, as well as, of course, that power, and of course, the cable straps there to be able to make things that much easier, right? So I think overall, very, very cool in terms of the overall design aesthetic, and it's going to be a fantastic addition to our lineup. So remember, we already have the GT501, we've got the GT301, and we've got, of course, the upcoming next gen version of the kind of the big brother to the Helios, which will be a large kind of open frame chassis. But I think that this will be a fantastic option for those of you that are into air-cooled as well as water-cooled based builds. So make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned. Like I said, hopefully maybe October-ish, maybe get into November in terms of the overall time frame, right? But overall, a fantastic looking chassis. I think you guys are going to love this one when it comes out. So we are going to keep working on this and hopefully drop it in the not too distant future. So Jeff is asking, will this chassis come in white? We have actually designed internally a couple of variations, including a very kind of cool, almost like beige-ish kind of chassis, which I think looks really, really great with the black monochrome. And also the GT501 does come in white right now, right? We do make a white version of the GT501 and we have a black version. Right now for the launch edition, we only have plans for the black. We may then look to also release an alternate color version, but right now no confirmation on an additional color outside of the black, okay? All right, so that gets us covered there. Okay, let's see what else I have. My goodness, so many things. Where are we at? All right, guys, it's getting really, really tight here. All right, so we've got here. Let me see if I got it, if I can get to it. All right, we've got the Tough Gaming VG24, the Tough Gaming VG249QM1A. This is going to be a monitor that we have coming out at $249. I think it's very reasonably priced. If you care about, I think, image quality, easy to drive resolution, right, then this is actually a really great choice. So this is going to be a new update in terms of our 1080p based displays. So you're going to have a fast IPS, 270 hertz refresh rate, 1 millisecond response, G-Sync and FreeSync, and essentially almost that 100% sRGB coverage. So very good in terms of the overall color quality. It's going to be a bright dynamic display in terms of punchy. It's about max 350 nits. I think the price point to this specification, it's a really, really great option for somebody that just wants a kind of like maybe esports centric type display that's not super expensive but looks good in terms of the color quality, great response, has the customization element like the things of the display widget technology, very high refresh rate experience. So I think this is a really solid option, again, without being super expensive. I really like the great balance of specifications on this monitor, right? You know, good color coverage, fast display, you've got the adaptive synchronization technology, right? The latest fast IPS based panel type, and that very high refresh rate. It's a very nice offering. Now keep in mind, because it's more entry, it doesn't have some of the ergonomic range of adjustment that are higher, like XG series monitors have, or even some of the higher end tough gaming monitors might have, where you have height, tilt, pivot, right, swivel, all available. So here it's just a little bit of that tilt based adjustment, but you of course also do have VESA mount support, right? You have HDMI, you have DisplayPort, you have your line level jack out as well that's present on here, and of course you can VESA mount this, right? And like always, I do like to make a point here. Some competitors, they only offer a 1-year warranty on their monitors. We do have a 3-year limited warranty. So, you know, there's a little bit of a difference in terms of the overall coverage policy as well. All right, so that is going to be the Tough Gaming VG. Let's go on our next product right here. And again, I will drop back into the comments to see if we have any quick questions that might have came up, okay? We have our Zenscreen OLED, which is also going to be coming out beyond probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks. This will be our portable OLED-based display. So this will be full HD. So this will be 1920 by 1080, but a great way to be able to add OLED if you want to be able to add it maybe to, you know, your desktop, to your laptop. Thin and light-based portable display. Really, really nice quality because, of course, you've got that OLED, so fantastic for being able to give you that really great immersive picture quality experience that OLED is known for, especially for, you know, for photos, for video. It's a fantastic option in that regard, especially if you want to add a secondary display. So this is going to, again, be 13.3 inches, full HD. It has an integrated proximity sensor, which means it'll automatically dim itself when you're not in front of it, which helps to maximize the lifespan for the OLED. Has USB-C connectivity. The USB-C connectivity is also going to give you the edge in terms of being able to have a one single cable, so you can power it and pass the display signal available to you. But it also does have that HDMI connector. So the HDMI means that you can connect it to anything. You can connect it to a mirrorless camera, you can connect it to a laptop, to a Nintendo Switch, to anything that you want, as long as it's got HDMI. But the native USB-C is going to be great for those devices that natively support DisplayPort over Type-C signaling. So that is going to give you a lot of flexibility there. It does have flexible orientation options right there. So you can see you can pivot in a lot of different ways. The smart case has essentially an integrated way to support the display, which is really nice. And you have a threaded mount on the back of the unit. So if you want to have some flexibility to be able to attach something like a tripod, you can also go ahead and do that, so that you have the flexibility to have it be positioned, you know, in better line of sight depending on where you want to position it. And we put the display connection on both sides, so depending on your setup environment, you've got that good level of flexibility that's available to you, so you don't have to worry about, you know, having it only limited to one side. Okay, and if you're using the Type-C and you're using HDMI, you're going to have HDMI and then Type-C for power, but then on both sides you have both Type-C with display and power, so that can go from either side, right? And we give you all these items inside the box, including support foam and a little case. So if you actually put it all together, it's cool because you can even have a little hood, you can have a little bracket, very nice and easy, and very, very flexible in terms of the overall setup. Does it support power pass-through? That's actually a good question. I do not believe it supports power pass-through. So you would mean in that kind of configuration, essentially having one other connection be able to output power. No, I do not believe it does support power pass-through. Most monitors generally do not support a power pass-through configuration. Like on large desktop monitors, we have monitors that support times type of power pass-through, but generally not there. All right, so let's go, what's the next there? So, okay, we've got that out of the way. Okay, we've got one more right here, which I want to go ahead and get into. This one is going to be a very low cost option. If you want a basic portable monitor, this is the MB116B, 159 bucks. You want to be able to just add a nice little portable display to your backpack or your bag or to a system. It's very reasonably priced, but you're still going to get an IPS-based display. It can be USB bus powered. It has automatic rotation support in terms of it being in landscape or portrait orientation. You have the tripod-based option as well on this one, and it also comes included with that nice little kind of smart cover that's available to you. So again, a very reasonable option in terms of the price point. 160 bucks is definitely not bad at all to be able to just add a secondary display to almost anything that you want and give you that flexibility. Very thin, very light, 780 grams. You literally almost wouldn't feel it if you put it inside of a backpack or a bag. Very, very nice in that regard. And again, you have the ability to go ahead and attach a tripod there, and you can support both portrait or landscape orientation. Okay, so you get the sleeve right there, you get your cable, and you get, of course, the monitor. All right, and let's see, do we have time for it here? I'm gonna try to squeeze it in because I have, of course, have it in my image. Do I have it in there? I thought I put it in there. Okay, I didn't put it in. Let me just put it in right here. All right, so this is going to be our ASUS PN52. The reason why this guy is exciting is the PN52 is going to be an update to our very popular mini PCs that we've had that have been AMD based. The big update right here for these models will be that they're going to be featuring Ryzen 5000H series processors. So these processors have actually a higher power envelope, which even offer more performance. So we'll have two models. We'll have the Ryzen right now 5600, and then we will have a Ryzen 5800. So that's a lot of performance. You can support up to 4 displays. You'll have tons of connectivity with 7 USB ports. You're gonna have Wi-Fi 6E. You're gonna have 2.5 gigabit LAN that will be available to you. It'll have the ability to support 2 M.2 SSDs and a SATA-based SSD. All in a very compact, high performance based mini PC solution. So very, very, very cool, very robust, very easy to access. You can see 4 screws, you open it up and you can have access to be able to go ahead and drop in those PCI NVMe based SSDs. You have 2 SODIMM slots that you can go ahead and attach memory to. Of course, the higher the memory with, of course, Ryzen, the better the performance, especially for the integrated Radeon graphics core that you have available to you. And very nice connectivity. If you take a look right here, we've got USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type C, then you've got Gen 2, 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports right there. And then you can see on the rear, you have then even more, right, where you've got 3 more ports, and another Type-C that also supports display out along with the HDMI, and the other connector. In the North American market, we will only have the display out configuration, not the dual LAN. So that's the reason why we can support up to 4 displays on this model. And then you of course have your DC in that you have available in there. Now, I do also want to note this is kind of interesting. You see DC in, but you can also power this via like a USB PD power adapter. So if you connected this to, let's say, one of our monitors that has USB PD output, you could power it by a single cable. You would not have to connect the DC connection. So you could literally power it from just a cable that was coming from, let's say, a monitor. So we have ProArt series monitors, we have VA series monitors that actually can support 80, 90 watts USB PD power, and they could power this actually system directly via one cable, okay? We also do extensive validation. We're the only manufacturer that openly discloses full, actually mil-spec validation for our mini PCs, which include things like temperature testing, altitude testing, humidity, vibration. So they really are going to be great and comfortable if you want to put it into a little kind of corner, if you want to put it into a desk, if you want to put it on the back of the monitor, if you want to put it in a workshop, a lot of different flexibility. And 2 other points that we do have here is we've gone ahead and revised the internal fan policy options to be more robust, to give you different types of presets that are available to you. And we've also gone ahead and tuned the actual fan design to actually be more efficient and more effective, and also have the ability to actually help to remove external dust, debris, and dander that comes through the internal portion of the fan assembly. So very, very nice in terms of the overall feature set that you have here. Do keep in mind that for the memory, you would want to be looking at support in terms of a DDR4 SODIMM. It's not traditional memory, so that is going to be important in that regard. And then some people that are wondering about the Ryzen H series, an example of the 5600H, that would be a 12-thread based processor, so 6 core and 12 threads, right? And in addition to that, you're also going to price point on this is going to be, depends on the model, because, well, like I said, I have the 5600 or the 58, 469, or I believe 629. I will double check that. I will have a post in the PC DIY group if you want to double check on that, but that should be the 2 respective price points. Okay. All right. Somebody's asking about upgrading the GPU. No, because these are very compact. You're talking about a unit that's like literally like almost like the size of this, right? So no, there's not. It's an integrated graphics-based core. The Radeon graphics core, though, is performant. If you want to do things like emulation, of course, basic video acceleration, there's no issues. If you were really interested in having external high-performance-based graphics, we have mini PCs that have of course, Thunderbolt support, so on our Intel side. So if you wanted to run an external eGPU, then you have that as an option if you really wanted to. Okay. Okay, let me just see if there's any other questions on that side. No, doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, guys. So, all right, I do have a meeting that I need to be able to jump into at 5, so that is going to be very tight. I'm going to have just one build for the PC DIY Builder Spotlight here. I had actually 4 or 5 planned, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in there. I'm going to go ahead and bring our Builder Spotlight right here, and we will get ready to jump into it. So give me 1 second right here to load this one up. Asking about the PG27AQN. Yes, so we did go ahead and do a follow-up announcement at Gamescom, but that monitor, I had already gone ahead and talked about it, so that's going to be our 1440p, of course 360 hertz. There's no new additional information for that monitor display. In terms of the timeline information, we'll probably have more of a specific timeline target to be able to provide at the end of Q3 timeframe, so at the end of September. So again, we have these streams every week, or if you're part of our PC DIY group, we have updates, of course, that I post there as soon as I have more information in terms of expected availability, and I also have a product release calendar that's also present there. So if you're interested in finding out about that, just make sure to check out either the stream or check out the featured announcements or check out the product release calendar. One way or another, you can then make sure that you're in the know as soon as that as soon as I have information to be able to provide about the ROG Swift 1440p 360 hertz. You will definitely find out about it. Okay. So Mr. Samak is asking, what are they like for a workshop what are they like like a dust in the workshop. So I think that's actually a very good kind of thing to consider. So if you take a look at our designs, we're one of the only manufacturers that right now has something like the active airflow design, where we actually have kind of a 2-channel implementation to help to go ahead and mitigate against like dust, debris, and dander buildup. So this is actually what I'm referring to right here. You can actually see that there's an internal kind of isolated channel right here, right? So essentially as particulate is coming in, because there's a difference in terms of kind of your air as well as particulate, right? The particulate will actually be funneled through here, and that'll help to kind of push out. Now, as long as you put this into a space where I think you're not immediately kind of getting massive amounts, this will help to settle that out. And of course, it's accessible to be able to, I think, occasionally clean out. It's hard to be able to say, but we do a lot of testing and analysis that I think we'd be very comfortable putting these in commercial type environments. That's the reason why we do the mil-spec testing. But, you know, I've seen some workshops where there's definitely a lot of stuff that goes in there, but I think compared to almost other solutions on the market which don't even have any type of design like this or don't have any type of validation for dust, debris, humidity, I would feel much more confident in our solutions than I think many of the other mini PCs on the market. Okay. All right, so hopefully that covers that. Let's go ahead and get into this PC DIY Builders Builder Spotlight. This is going to be from H2O Computers. This is going to be Gundam Evolve. A very, very cool build. This was kind of a labor of love, I think, in a lot of ways, from Mike and overall from H2O Computers. Very cool to be able to kind of finally see it be able to come together, and finally saying kind of take it form, right? So here we can see, of course, just from the outset, we already can see that we've got the GX601. So this is actually going to be our Helios-based chassis, and you can see it's the Gundam-based edition. And as we get ready to kind of go in here and take a look at it, you can really see that he kind of took it to the next level in terms of kind of really providing, I think, a unique kind of look and feel, which is something that he always imparts on his systems. Dever doesn't ever kind of go for just the traditional route. And so here you can see you have that angled GPU layout, which I think is really interesting. It's very distinctive, and I think it gives it kind of a cool kind of mech vibe, which kind of complements the Gundam narrative, right? And it does give it this little bit of the flow. When I think you look right here with these nice fittings, these are the newer fittings that are available from EK, that kind of it just flows into the top to the bottom, and it kind of gives it that cool look and feel, right? Really nice, clean cable management that we have right here that, you know, you almost kind of go, did you really need to go custom cables? Because you're barely seeing them, but just adding that a little bit of additional color that ties together the theme from Gundam, I think is fantastic. So I love that continuity of being able to see the blue here, the blue here, the blue here, the blue here, and then even down in the power supply, and then of course within the chassis itself. And then the layout work for that tubing, really cleanly done, really nicely done right there. Tons, of course, of configuration there to be able to work within the Helios, where you can see we've got the Gundam cooler that's routed up at top, and then of course you've got your rad cooler configuration right here, which is going to be cooling the graphics card. But I like the split flow design setup right here, where we've got essentially, the split cooling design, where we have water cooled, but we also have kind of an air cooled configuration, and really nice implementation to be able to integrate the VRM cross chill design that you have on the Formula board. So when we go and we take a look and see actually at it illuminated, it's got a really kind of cool overall kind of design aesthetic right here. And of course with the RGB lighting, you can play around with different types of color schemes to be able to kind of change up the look and feel however you want it. And this blue, I think, fits really well with the overall theme. You've also got the Team Group, I think this is the Team Group Max SSD right there, which is also illuminated RGB lighting. This cool little Biro stat display, which I love the fact that you've got the Armory Crate software in there for like your stat monitoring. That's really cool to be able to kind of display on there. So that's a really nice little kind of touch that's present. And then here, as we kind of black it out, you get to see a little bit more of that lighting kind of come into play. You also see those nice details right there with the lighting that's on the Maximus board, the OLED Live Dash display, some nice little accents that you also have back there where it looks like a sticker is added. And then of course, you've got additional kind of storage right there for the additional items that you have within the water cooling, right? And you can see right here just the display, being able to kind of change it up and be able to have a different look and feel. Love these little touches right there, right, where you can see, of course, we have the Gundam iconography present on the cooler, but then just these really nice clean lines that even if you're looking at angles that you normally wouldn't see, it still is really nicely clean and worked out. And that's definitely something that he always does in terms of his cable management. It's always on point. And I think he has a rear shot in here, which I'm always a fan of, right, because it shows that, hey, I'm not afraid to kind of show you the method to the madness. And the layout right here is nicely done, clean, well laid out, And this, I love that he even included the Hyper M.2 add-in card on a riser cable so that you can even have additional access to M.2 based SSDs, right? So that you're not sacrificing that, because of course, with blocking that bottom portion of the board, you have less access to any immediate storage. So right here, you do have the flexibility right here to be able to add in that storage, or if there was storage that was attached. So all the way around, a very, very, very cool design right there. Let me go ahead and see if I have the submission form. I'm gonna have to break out here, guys, because I have my meeting, but let me go ahead and just bring up the submission form, see if I can get that through there pretty quickly. All right, so I have that up right there. And let's go back to, I think this image is pretty good. Actually, the second one I like right there. Okay. So that one's good. And let's take a look right here. So again, this is from Mike Williams over at H2O Computers. If you guys are not following, make sure to go ahead and check it out. It was, Gundam was the theme. 3 words to describe the build is original, sleek, and futuristic. The overall name for the build was Gundam Evolved. We've got, of course, the Gundam chassis, Maxima Z690 formula, a 12700K. We then have an ROG Strix 3080 base graphics card, which is, of course, water-cooled. Team Group Team Force Delta memory, 32 gigabytes. Samsung 980 Pro that's in there. Team Group Delta Max, RGB SSD, 850 watt Gundam power supply, and the Strix line, Strix LC cooler, and then the Lianli Unifans that are in there, 7 of them there. And then water cooling hardware pretty much is all from EK throughout in the system. And then Premachill white soft tubing that is present in there as well, along with some cable mod items from Cable Mod bridge combs, sleeve cables, anodized thumb screws, and Easy Fab, the actual Gen 4 bracket. About $5,000 budget. He was most proud of the layout and design and the signature add-on M.2 card in the back, which I would agree, it's definitely becoming a hallmark for H2O Computers. He would have liked to pay homage to the Z590 motherboard and mount it in the back of the case. I wanted to mod the AIO to hardline it. It was just at risk I wasn't willing to take on the first attempt, but I think overall he nailed it in terms of the fit and finish, and the white formula really complements the overall look and feel of the Gundam hardware and the overall kind of white silver theme for the rest of the items. So I think it worked out really, really well regardless. About 35 hours to put this together, which is actually impressive because there's a lot of kind of little tweaks and subtle tuned elements here, which is a little bit of kind of build, a little bit of modding, a little bit of tweaking, and of course always when you go custom layout, always a little bit of challenges right there. So overall, a very, very cool build, man, and fantastic way to be able to go ahead and wrap out the stream. So thank you guys so much. I've got to jump into a meeting, but you guys enjoy your weekend, stay safe, stay healthy, take care, and see you next week.